I'm all about the what ifs. What if this is true? What if that is true? And what would be the aftermath of it? Of the question that's asked, are homosexuals born to be that way? Is it genetic? Or is it a choice? And these activists are pushing it into the idea that it's genetic. What if they're right? And the argument against it by people who are saying that it's a choice. And they're putting massive effort into telling people that it's a choice.
And beliefs and experiences that you have. So we believe that homosexuality comes from all of that together, not just from one single cause.
So why do gay activists continue to insist that it's genetic?
Because if it's genetic, then you can't help acting a certain way or being a certain way. And so then we should accommodate you because you can't help being that way. And so they're using the idea that it's genetic, and there have been a lot of studies about that, and they haven't found any gay gene. But they're using that idea that it's genetic to drive a political and social agenda.
Hello everyone. Once again, this is Dare to Speak. I wanted to make a very important point on something that I suspected for many years now. And there's certain things that I actually stumbled upon. Some of it was from my own research when I was writing a book, which hasn't been published yet, and it was really difficult because the entire book was very controversial, and I know it's going to get a lot of people angry. The Apathy of Social Darwin is the title of the book. The Apathy of Social Darwin, Survival of the Luckiest. I wanted to give a sarcastic title. There was a part where I mentioned, even though, and I did some research on it, and even now, up to this very day, it gets me to wonder, and it just makes it more and more obvious. I don't know if I want to call it a conspiracy or I don't know what you want to consider it. But to me, it seems that it's very, very likely that there's some sort of effort, massive effort into suppressing the idea that homosexuality is genetic. They say they haven't found any proof, and even though there has been a few people, scientists, who actually said, especially Dean Hamer, he was interviewed by Bill Maher in his documentary. And he said that he discovered the gay gene. And Dean Hamer is the one who wrote the book, The God Gene, where he says that it's also genetic for those people that are into Christianity. And no matter what type of evidence or compelling argument or convincing argument that someone would say about or challenging the idea of God's existence. They would still hold true to their belief, and they would argue. It was like an overwhelming level of stubbornness. Like, you're not gonna pull me away from my faith and all this kind of stuff like that. People that are into that psychotic level, which is just what I actually think. He does make a lot of sense, even though I haven't read the book, but I heard about it. Now, for people who actually say without a doubt that there hasn't been any proof, I'm wondering, what if there was more scientists that came forward or tried to come forward with the information that homosexuality is genetic? They didn't choose to be this way. Even though in some cases molestation does play a role in it, and being influenced somehow, but that's not the case with all of them. To me, it just seems way too obvious that it is genetic, and I still hold true to that, even though many Christians will say, "Well, prove it." It's a bunch of bullshit, and for the reasons that you just saw in that one video clip. And even this one friend of mine who's a Christian fundamentalist still says that is a choice. They chose to be that way. And I said, how can they just choose to be that way? That doesn't make sense. And then he would explain, but it didn't. He would say some stupid things that just didn't make sense, and then he would constantly quote parts from the Bible. The Lord says this in Revelation, this and that, whatever. And I'm like, okay, but what do you think? But why do you think it is a choice? And then he just keeps on going back to that. Now, my question, which gets me I do get suspicious on certain things. What's the worst that could happen if it was proven by scientists that homosexuality is genetic, as well as bisexuality, as well as other cases of something else that's totally separate from that, but I'm not going to get into it. What would be the worst thing that could actually happen if it was proven and there was no way it could be debunked, and religious people won't be able to disprove it, and the idea that it's a choice was actually proven wrong? What is the worst that could happen? I thought to myself, and I even asked a few people that question, and they gave me dude, if that was ever proven, it would be very, very devastating to Christianity or religion itself, whether Jewish, Muslim, or whatever. It would be very devastating to them, and it would prove the Bible wrong. There will be a crisis of faith. I mean, depending, I don't know to what severity, but and I was thinking, I think even before I even asked this friend of mine this question, I think it would have a very serious strike, a hard hit to the religious institutions, and they are threatened by it. They're very threatened, and they're going to end up losing control of trying to keep people in check with their own radical beliefs and things that have been taught to people for centuries and things like that. And then it will lead to other questions. Well, if the Bible is wrong about that, then it must be wrong about these other issues or these other type of things. And then eventually religion, especially Christianity itself, will, I don't know, they would be in serious trouble of having any kind of stranglehold on society. And that's what I honestly believe what would happen. I mean, and aside from that, what is the worst thing that could actually happen? I mean, would there be like any kind of political upheaval or any kind of disaster to something else? I mean, what's the thing that would actually happen? And these are questions that possibly would have very scary answers. And there's a few people that I know that think, that have a suspicion that is actually genetic, as well as Christian friends of mine that believe the opposite of that. And to me, it's just very, I don't know, it's something that really gets me thinking. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Questions or comments, you know what to do. And this is Dare to Speak. And to all of you, take care.